Hello, welcome. In this video, we'll learn about the bidding process for a typical construction project. We'll understand the timeline of the bidding process. We'll understand we'll be able to identify the bidding documents and the required submittals, and also differentiate between the bidding process that are mandated by law for public projects compared to private projects. So bidding goes through these four main phases: advertisement, and then preparation, submission by the bidders, evaluation by the owner, and then negotiation and award between the owner and the selected winner. So in advertising the project, the owner needs to let the available contractors, the local contractors, those interested of this bidding opportunity. The advertisement would need to include these different things here. So the contractor will be able to make a decision to bid or no bid based on their capabilities and matching that with the open project here. One thing that we will discuss more in details are the bonds. So it's more like the financial guarantees that the contractor, if they are selected, will be able to finish the project and also fulfill their duties. So this is an example, an ad. Hopefully you can see it in the video, but for students, they will have access to the slides. But you can see here the project number. So within the owner organization, they have their project enterprise management system, the title, the estimated base bid, that's based on the engineer estimate. Other information here about the project here, and also requirements regarding minorities and different things. We'll discuss that. And also the time for a conference, pre-bid conference to answer questions. So that ad here will be published in newsletters or online on the owner website to let people know. So for public projects, there are very strict requirements about bid advertisement. There should be a minimal time of advertisement period before you open the bid. For example, in California, they require making in the ad publicized using the ad for at least 2 times, with a minimum of 5 working days between these advertisements. So public projects have more requirements for that to be able to be fair and transparent in the process. And also some require specific type of ads like local newspapers, or is online advertisement allowed or not. And part of the advertisement is setting that date for the pre-bid conference, where you will the owner will be available with the engineer and architect who prepare the bid package to answer any questions. So you will openly answer any questions, and that's part of the fair and open competition. And these are some practices here, so to be able to get the most out of this pre-bid conference. One practice that is applied in bidding is pre-qualification. So when you open the bid, sometimes the owner would like to limit those who can apply for this bid or submit bids to limited pool of qualified participants or contractors. That's still fair if you think that you're setting requirements on who can submit based on financial qualifications or ability of the contractor business. So private owners, of course, have more flexibility in imposing different criteria, but also public owners have their own, like the law allow them to have pre-qualification programs and pre-qualification lists of bidders. And of course, everything in a public arena, everything has to be fair, transparent, and everything has to be, as much as you can, objective, not subjective, to qualify a contractor. So after advertisement, you let contractors prepare their bids and submit them. And for bidders, they need to get this bid package to help them walk through what need to be submitted. So it's a lot of pages and forms that need to be prepared. So already covered the advertisement itself need to be part of that bid package, and there should be also instruction to bettors, what to walk them step by step what need to be done, the forms that they need to fill, bill of quantities, and we'll see that, and addenda and drawings. Other things, other documents or parts of the bid package, we will go over these in future lessons. So instruction to bettors, this is a list of possible instructions to include in the bid package, but you need to be really clear about responsibilities for the bettors or those who are planning to submit a bid, what is included in the bid, and how to find these documents, what's the interpretation rules and procedures, especially when you have a conflicting information between documents. What are the procedures for the bidding, the opening the envelopes and the times and dates and who's doing that, and how the bids will be evaluated, and finally here, what will be the procedure after the bid is open. So AIA, American Institute of Architects, have a lot of templates and template documents that people can use in industry, and for instruction to bettors, they have this form A701, so you can check it online to get a sense how the instruction documents will look like. The bid form here is a structured way to get the bid information summarized in a specific order, so those who are evaluating the bids will make their lives easier, basically. So the bid forms will basically include the most important thing with the bid price, what would be the dates for completing the project, and also certifications that some businesses are confirming with some local laws. So for example, affirmative action, that there was no discrimination is based on race or ethnicity, or like the fair hiring and subcontracting practices are applied. And also some projects require percentages of minority and women businesses. So the bid form will include information about that, like who of your subcontractors are qualified to be WBE, women businesses enterprise, or minority business enterprise. So the bid form will include all of this information. Part of also the bid package is the bill of quantities. So it's not a required thing for lump sum projects, but of course it is required for the unit price projects, because you need to list the unit prices for each one of the items in this bill of quantities. But still, it's a good practice to have it for lump sum projects. And why is that? Because it forms your payment scheme. Like, it gives an idea how you're going to be asking for payments if you are a contractor. So it helps also kind of give sufficient information about the project. So kind of it's a checklist. Even if you don't have to break down your bid price by these items if you're dealing with a lump sum, but still it's a good practice to break down the scope following the bill of quantities. Addenda is another part of the bid, which is kind of a bulletin list of changes and clarifications that happen during the bid process. And that's very careful here. Try to differentiate between that and what happens after construction when changes and information are being shared. So during the bid, clarifications and approval for substitutions and additional information. Let's say if you're a bidder and you found some issue with the bid documents, you send to the architect or the owner rep asking for information. When the owner rep or the architect responds to your question, they don't respond in private or one-on-one. They actually publish this response in the addenda. So all other bidders will have access to the answer. Again, the key here, transparency and fairness. So there's no kind of one-to-one favorism in some way. If you ask a question, the answer will be shared with everyone. Part of the bid documents is drawings, and this is just a list of typical drawings. As engineers and construction engineers, construction management professionals, you need to know how to read drawings, and that's helpful because you will understand the scope and be able to estimate a reliable bid price. So once you submit the bid, then you will be Like the owner will open the envelopes, or the owner representative here to open the envelopes and evaluate. Private projects don't have to have a fixed criteria for better selection, but it's for reliability and reputation and people to trust to spend time and propose bids to private entities. You need to be clear again in the instructions how these bids will be evaluated, even if you're not required by law to do that. And if it's better to do that because you're trying to avoid any possible disputes or litigation. In public projects, the criteria have been in the traditional way, where we're here focused bidding process. So it's not applied to design build delivery system. It's more for design bid build. So in design bid build public projects, they're required to select the lowest responsive and responsible bid. So lowest are those who are providing the least bid price, but they have also to be responsive and responsible. What does it mean, responsive and responsible? Responsive is basically a bidder who satisfies all the, or fills all the fields in the forms, that everything is complete in the bid. Any missing piece of information in these forms will make you non-responsive. And you will, even if you're the lowest bidder, you will not be selected. Responsible bidder is the one who, again, debatable in some way, but it's kind of a responsible citizen, someone who's doing their duty, paying taxes on time, didn't break the law before. So this is a responsible bidder. So just providing evidence that you're following the law. If you're not following the law, or if you have any incidents that shows that you're not responsible, then you will be excluded from the bid. Now, jumping into one critical aspect when you deal with unit price bids, so not lump sum, unit price bids, which is unbalancing bids. So it's a practice by contractors to sometimes unbalance the bid to get some benefits out of that. So I'm showing here, this is the original bid draft. So while the contractor is preparing for the bid, they kind of have this Excel sheet and figure out this is the bid price. It's 1,309,000 and some change. But then they did some changes to it. They didn't submit the bid yet, but they revised that bid sheet to do some changes. So take a time and look at, maybe pause the video here, compare between this bid draft and this revised bid draft. Take a minute, just compare between the values here. So I hope you see the difference in numbers. Of course, you can see the total bid price didn't change, still the same. But what they did is they moved some money from buckets to a bucket. Between the buckets, or the items of the bid, they moved money from one to the other, specifically here. So here, maybe this is not that accurate here. We're talking about line item 8 here. So in the original estimate, or the correct, you can say, or the realistic estimate of the bid, this was supposed to be 660K. Now they lowered it. So they took some money from this item and then they assigned it to the first 3 items in a way that makes the total bid equal still the same. So this is what we call the unbalanced bid. So this is an unbalanced bid. This is a balanced bid. This is the realistic estimate. This is what you come up with initially when you estimate the numbers and the unit prices. But then you do some changes to it, so you do unbalancing here. So unbalancing, you decrease the unit prices of some bid items in favor of increasing other unit prices, because while you keep the same bid price. So why people do that? First reason, taking advantage of a mistake done by the architect or engineer, specifically the quantities mistakes. So this is the submitted unbalanced bid. So that's the number, the sheet we have seen before. But now what happened is the contractor, when they're looking at drawings and checking the quantities, they figure out that the quantities here are not correct. They actually, the architect or engineer did some mistakes in calculating these, and the temporary sheeting should be actually 6 times more, while the permanent sheeting should be 10 times less. So what happened here is that they will take advantage of that by increasing the unit prices of these quantities. So in the bedtime, there are less quantities, but they know that these quantities will increase during construction. So when this quantity changes, remember this is unit price, you are allowed to change quantities based on the project scope that is measured on site. So now you're gonna get a lot of money. So the difference between this number and this number, of course, quantities change, but you're getting a lot of profit that's enlarged, not because of the scope of work changed or increased, but because you used an inflated unit price to get more money than you should have got. So some people say that's smart business, doing business in a smart way, you take advantage and earn money. Some people say it's unethical. You should actually, when you find a mistake in the numbers in the bed, you should tell the owner, and the owner should tell the other bettors. You should not take advantage of that. So it's debatable. Some people in the industry protect the right to do that. But of course, at Santa Clara University, we're so big on ethical practices. Ethics is a big part of our mentality. So when you find a mistake by others, you don't take advantage of it. You let them know, and that will give a fair competition here. The second reason for doing unbalancing beds is to improve the cash flow. And in my other course, when we deal with construction planning, scheduling, cost estimating, and cash flow analysis, the point here is naturally you do the work in construction and then you submit the invoice and then you get paid. But during this time when you do the work, you spend your own cash, and then until you get paid, you get that money back. So you need to secure cash from your own bank, or maybe have a credit line to cover that time period. And this is the idea behind cash flow analysis. So the point here is you try to get as much money as you can early in the project, so that will cover you later, so you don't have to worry that much about financing and getting cash for this project. So that's the idea, is moving money from the later packages in the project to earlier packages in the project and getting paid that much money early, and that will help you improve your cash flow over the project. So this is called what's called front-end payment loading. So you front loading your project with unit prices that will make you or allow you to get more money early. The third reason here is cheating. So you're actually, your company, you're going out of business and you're going into a bed trying to get as much money early in the project and then just declaring bankruptcy and run away kind of. So that's, of course, that's unethical, that's deceiving. But typically they're very extreme in their unbalancing and you can detect them. So for example, here you have bettors A through E, and you can compare them in these two line items here. And you can see the average of the rates here is like 0.5 until $1.5 per unit. You can see this is a mistake. There's something fishy here, $45 per unit. Same thing for the other one. So you can say that bettor D has issues. They have fishy business to deal with here, but they might be the lowest bettor. So the question is, what would you do in public projects, especially when you're following the design bid build mandate and you have to pick the lowest bettor? What's the situation in this case? So how you can respond to that? So think about it. Maybe look online, search, do your own research here, and we'll discuss that in class. So once you do now, finally submit a bid, you're being evaluated, you're the lowest bidder, then you get selected, and then the owner starts now to negotiate with you, because there are things that's still negotiable, even in design bid build and picking based on the lowest price. So there are terms in the contract you can negotiate with the owner, and that negotiation will materialize if it passes into a signed contract. So last thing here we need to discuss is bonds. And we covered that before multiple times, but now this is the time to get a little in detail. So bonds so the contractor here pays to surety companies to issue these bonds. And bonds are kind of guarantees. So when an owner have a bond from a surety company, the surety company will pay money to the owner if the contractor does not fulfill their duty or do have a breach of contract with the owner. So there are three main types of bonds here that we'll go over. First one is the bid bond. So the bid bond here is guaranteed that if a bidder is successful, meaning they were selected because the low is better, this bidder, selected bidder, will produce the requirements to enter into the contract with the owner. Meaning that if I'm selected to the bid, if my bid was selected, I will commit to this bid. So I will not run away. Why people run away? I mean, you should be happy that your bid was selected. Sometimes when you open the bids, let's say I submitted a bid for $1 million, and then I see everyone else is submitting bids for $2 million. Think about it. Everyone else is proposing like average $2 million project, but you're submitting a bid for $1 million. Think about it. This should be freaking you out, because this means that there's something wrong. I'm committing to a $1 million project that probably each one else sees is to cost, or it should be $2 million. So now this is a situation that you might be thinking, I have to run away. I'm not losing now. What people call, I'm leaving on the table a lot of money. Sometimes you're not even leaving profit. You're actually gonna, pay a lot of money here, lose a lot of money here. So the bid bond here is kind of guarantee that the contractor, the selected bidder, will confirm to that and will actually do the work and enter into a contract with the owner. That bid bond is typically a 5% of the bid value. Why is that? Because typically, not the 1 million, 2 million example, but the difference between the first and the second and the different bidders is around 5%. So the surety company here will guarantee to the owner that if your lowest bidder lowest bidder doesn't do the work or not proceeding with the contract, I will cover 5% of that. So it will recover some of the additional expenses of going with the second lowest bidder and instead of going with the first lowest bidder. So that's during the bid. When you submit the bid, you submit the bid bond. Once you are selected and now you're actually signing the contract, the owner will give you back the bid bond, so you not have to pay more to the surety company to maintain this bid bond, but in return you will give the owner the performance bond. So in this signature time, you're taking back the bid bond, but you're submitting a performance bond. What is a performance bond? It's also a guarantee, but now it's covering 100% of the contract value. So it's guarantee from the surety company that you will do the project 100%. So if you leave the contract in any time, then in this case, the surety company will pay the owner to continue finishing the work. Of course, the surety company is not a charity thing, so they give the money to the owner and cover that, but then they will go after you to your assets. They will basically strip you of all the assets that are equivalent to the value of the contract. So it's a very serious thing. Another bond that you also submit when you sign the contract after the bid is the payment bond. So payment bond is a guarantee that beside the performance bond, that you finish the work, but the payment bond is a guarantee that you actually will pay your subs. Because the subs here, if they don't get paid by the GC, the general contractor, they will go to the project and the owner and actually claim ownership and what we call put a mechanic's lien on the property. So they will kind of be a co-owner of the property, and they come from nowhere. The owner didn't expect that because the law allows them to do that. So if they don't get paid for a project, they have the right to put a lien on the property, so the owner cannot really now be a sole owner or a true owner of this property. So to protect the owner, the GC will also submit a second payment bond, and they will pay for this expense to secure this bond to guarantee to the owner that I will pay my subs. You don't have to worry about that. You will not see someone coming and asking for money if I don't pay them, right? So bid bond is applicable during the bid period, and it should expire after you being selected or you're not selected. Like even if you're not selected better, the bid bond here expires. And then if you are selected, this bid bond is replaced by the performance bond and the payment bond. So hopefully that was clear here, and that was the last thing we covered today for the bidding process. So we learned about the sequence of steps to do a bid process, and they're typically applicable in public projects because there are a lot of things need to be respected there. And we learn about the different documents and the bid package for a project. And finally, we'll learn about the last step, which is negotiating the contract and the bonding aspect in construction projects. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in future videos. Take care.